Welcome back here to Tri-State Sports Talk today on AM 730 KWOA. We welcome into the studio. Going to talk here today with longtime District 518 instructor, Coach Mike Traphagen, joining us in the studio. Good afternoon, Trap. How you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you, Jared.
Coach, we wanted to catch up with you, Trap, here as something that I learned a little bit about, but you and your wife will be moving up north here very soon. Congratulations, as it sounds like retirement's things are going. How a couple of years in, how has retirement been for you?
Very good. I've enjoyed it a lot. I still stay involved with the school in a couple of different ways, in that I do a lot of substitute teaching, and I thoroughly enjoy that. And then I've had the opportunity to work at the scores table and announcing and running the scorebook, that kind of thing. For various sports, and I enjoy doing that thing. So I just have a little more free time, which is kind of nice, and I have the ability to do some things, a little more flexibility in my schedule.
And you should come out when Trap's doing like baseball PAing. He's got a great selection of music too. But well, Mike, I wanted to bring you in here in studio because you've always been very kind to me throughout the years, and I kind of just sat there and I wanted know a little bit more about the Mike Traphagen story. I'm sure some know, but tell us let's go back to the beginning. Where did you grow up, and where did you spend your formative years?
Well, both of my parents, Jared, were teachers, and I was born in the 50s, and back in the 50s and 60s, teachers moved a lot. So we did a lot of moving when I was younger. I was born in North Dakota, and we lived in South Dakota. We moved out to Washington for a year, and these were all different moves with my dad looking for different teaching jobs, and my mom was also a teacher. And then we ended up in Renville, Minnesota when I was in elementary school, and then we moved to Worthington, and my dad got a job at what was in Worthington State Junior College, and I was a sixth grader at that time, and pretty much been in Worthington since then. I graduated from Worthington High School and went to school at St. Cloud, both Minnesota West, which at that time was Worthington Community College, and then I went to St. Cloud State University and graduated from there. And then I got my first teaching job at Heron Lake Okabena, which where I had that first connection with you and the Rademacher family.
Right, exactly.
And I taught there for 6 years, and then came to Worthington and had a 28-year career in education here at the Worthington Public Schools.
I would imagine that would be kind of tough, being on the road so much in those early years because, like you said, it's kind of hard to lay down those roots when you're moving so much.
It was, but as a kid, kids are pretty flexible.
Yeah.
You kind of get
They're
through
tough.
that. I do remember with every move I didn't want to move. I remember the feeling I didn't want to move, and then shortly after we arrived at our new home, things got a whole lot better. And we're experiencing a little bit of that right now. We did close on a home up in the Alexandria area on May 1st. So, we're facing reality on the 22nd. We make our move up there. So it's a big change. We've lived in our current home for 25 years, and I have a lot of connections to this area, and probably a little bit tougher for my wife Patty than it is for me at this point in time. I'm pretty good about change. She's not quite so. She doesn't handle it quite so well. But so there's some good things and some bad things. But a lot of good memories here in this area, in both the Heron Lake, Okabena, and the Worthington area.
Where did you meet your wife Patty?
Well, I met her actually. I went to when I was going to Worthington Community College. I played basketball and baseball with her brother. She's from Gaylord. And he came down to Worthington to play basketball and baseball, and then we met her on a trip to Mankato one night during the spring of the year, and things just kind of blossomed from there, and it's worked out very, very well. We have a terrific family, three boys that are all in education. They're all teachers as well, and we became grandparents for the first time in January. We had 2 grandsons born 3 days apart, so a lot of big changes in our lives lately, and we get the opportunity to move up a lot closer to at least one of them, and that really excites us.
Tell us a little bit about, like you said, back in your day of being an athlete, because yourself was a very good athlete, and obviously athletics is a big part of your life, as a student, then obviously later as a coach. So when did you always just have that love for being an athlete and competing then since you were an early boy? Yeah,
I did. My dad was a teacher and a coach, and I kind of hung around him at practice all the time, and I know when we lived in Renville, for example, he was the head football coach at a time. He also was an assistant basketball coach. I think he maybe coached some track then too. but we lived right across the street from the school. So basically I lived at the school, and that never really left me. And, just that hanging around sports and high school sports, pretty important to me in my life, and it still continues to be that way.
What sports did you play in school then?
Well, when I was in school, I played. I was a football player when I was younger, and I didn't grow. When I was like in ninth grade, I was 5'4" and maybe 95 pounds. So football wasn't real appealing to me at that time. So I did end up going out for cross country my last couple of years of high school and really enjoyed that. I played basketball all the way up and also played baseball, and it's kind of funny how it worked out. I ended up I played baseball, but I ended up coaching track for about 25 years. So,
yeah.
If you can't do it, coach it. That's kind of the way that works.
Well, I was going to say, if you've, cross country and track and field, do sports that, really mean a lot to you. What was it about them that gives you such a passion for those in particular?
Well, it's really a good competition. It's a good combination. I like the competition in sports. I like competing, and it's a different level in those sports. In cross country and track, those sports, you really get out of it what you put into it.
Right.
If you put time into it, you're going to get better. That's just the way it is. And it's an individual sport, but yet it's a team sport. I like both of those aspects of it. They're really relaxed, more relaxed in terms of. When I started teaching in Worthington, I was the head volleyball coach, and I also coached many years of basketball. In volleyball, when I coached volleyball and basketball, when we lost, I felt really lousy. Right. I mean, there wasn't any way around it. You get over it, and the nice thing about it is you get another opportunity the next game, and you don't base everything on winning and losing. But I guess I can't remember too many track meets or cross country meets when I walked away. We didn't win very many of those meets. We won our share, but we wouldn't win sometimes, and I didn't walk away feeling bad because there's always some kid that really performed well. And they don't even have to be. They maybe didn't even place.
Right.
Maybe they just ran their best time or they had their best performance of the year, and that's really cool about those sports.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head, because you're competing against other people, but in a way you're almost competing against yourself.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, you're trying to just keep putting that work in so you get a little bit better, so you can be the best you can be and see where you end up. So
I really saw in both of those sports, coaching both those sports, kids' self-esteem improve. Not all kids fit into those sports. First of all, they're a lot of work. Most teenagers, running a couple miles does not really appeal to them.
Nope.
And maybe not to most adults either.
Yep.
But it's hard work. They're special people when they do sports like that, and you really see how kids can grow and how they feel about themselves. Not that other sports can't do that, because they can.
Yeah.
But they're based more on playing time, and in cross country and track, nobody really sits on the bench.
Yeah.
They all get an opportunity to perform, and that I really enjoyed about that aspect of those sports.
Well, I think self-esteem is a good one I never really thought of before, but it kind of makes sense. These kids, like you said, you put in the hard work, and then you're seeing the result.
Yeah.
And then they learn at an early age that, hey, this is something that works, because I think for everybody, there's a point in your life where you just kind of learn kind of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And I think obviously the earlier you can do it, the faster you can just kind of add that to your everyday life, if you would, Yeah, that hard work really does pay off.
That is exactly right. That the hard work as a teacher and a coach, that's really what you want to teach kids, And as a father, that's one thing that my wife and I both tried to teach our kids is that work ethic, put work into, doesn't matter what it is, give it your best. And, the last thing I would want to do is have a kid base their self-esteem on how good they are in a sport. Right. Because that really is, sports are for fun. Yep. But it can help. It can help you in ways that are valuable later in life, about just being, that working hard and putting the time and effort into things, and you see that you can be productive doing those kinds of things. And
teamwork, the ability to, like you said, kind of track and field, cross country, individual sport. But one thing I love watching going to a track meet, and I don't get to too many, but I love watching the relays and then watching teammates from all these different teams right up in that line, yelling encouragement. Yeah. I mean, isn't that what it's all about?
It is.
They learn something from that. Hey, here's a guy that busts his butt in practice just like I do. He's cheering for me. Yeah. I'm going to encourage him. I love that. I just absolutely love that.
I think the exact same thing, with track. All the years I coached track, and I coached, I started with Larry Peterson. He was a a head coach when I started, and Larry and our philosophy was we want to be good in the relays, and that's continued on through with Ken Henkels and Doug Brands as head coaches. It was really that way with Wayne Heisinger at Heron Lake Okabena when I coached with him. The relays were really important, and just like you said, Jared, to see kids how they work for each other, because they really will. When they have that baton in their hand and they know they have to get it to somebody else, they're going to run faster. They just are, because they want to do it for somebody else, which is a very important life lesson as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, covering high school sports now for 10 plus years, I think just that the camaraderie element is what brings me back. I mean, I think, we have great kids, not just in District 518, but around the area. We're pretty blessed to be where we're at. And just when you see guys and gals step up for each other and stick up for one another and encourage one another, that's why I just sit there and go, that's what this is all about. And I guess this leads me into one question I want to ask you. Obviously, being in sports and coaching a long time, what are some changes that you've noticed throughout the years? I mean, I think for the most part, that sometimes we kind of, now that we live in this 24-hour news cycle, we hear a lot of the bad.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of the good. What are some, just not necessarily in kids, but just overall changes have you noticed in high school sports from when you started teaching and coaching into what you see now?
Well, most of it is the same, which is good.
Yes.
Because, high school sports is about kids having fun and doing something, learning all those things that we talked about, that work ethic, that sacrifice, and teamwork, and, those kinds of things. I would say, as a parent, I get to watch my children, too, which is really special, watching your kids participate. It's very difficult as a parent because you want the very best for your child, and you want them to be the best. And sometimes they're not always the best. But one thing that my wife and I really try to stress with our boys is that just do your best and make sure you're having fun. If you're not having fun, then find something else to do, and those kinds of things. Maybe one of the biggest changes that I think and I think I see sometimes parents really pushing kids toward maybe just one sport instead of multiple sports.
Right.
We're pretty lucky here. I think for the most part we get pretty good.
I think District 518 has always done a good job in encouraging kids, not just sports, but I think in everything, to always encourage them to try stuff. If you have interest in it, try it. Don't be afraid to try different things. And I think that's carried over to athletics as well. We have a lot of multi-sport athletes.
We do. Not only that, but also involved in the other activities, the music and the fine arts and things like that. We've had a couple state champions recently in AAA, Minnesota AAA. I was talking to Josh Dale about that a couple weeks ago, and his thought was, we're in the big class, we're in with the big schools. Not many kids in big schools do multiple activities anymore. They want to specialize. That's one thing that maybe bothers me as much as anything else. And I can see that happening, the development of AAU and Special Olympics, the JO volleyball and things like that. There's some good things about them because it makes kids better. Okay? But there's some things about it that aren't so good because then kids want to specialize. And I think the value that kids get out of high school sports or any activities, music, choir band, play, musical, is that camaraderie that you talked about. Doing things with kids. Those are the things you remember. As a coach, when we get to the playoffs and we get beat and that the season would be over, the hard part for me wasn't the losing. The hard part for me was that the fun was over. And that's really the way you want to look at it. And I think it's maybe changed a little bit that way, but for the kids, it really hasn't, because kids are still doing it for fun, and that's the most important thing. Everybody needs to realize that it is for them, and I still think it's a great opportunity for people to learn really how to be good people.
Well said. Absolutely well said. So I know this is going to be probably a near impossible question, but are there any few moments in the time that you've been in Worthington that are going to stand out more than others? And I know after all these years, it's going to be hard to pinpoint a few, but is there just a couple that you're going to take with you always when you leave the Worthington area?
Well, I think for one, just even my, when I started teaching in Worthington, I was hired as a head volleyball coach, and just coaching at Worthington High School that first time was really special. Just watching just specific moments is really hard. Making it to the state tournament in 1994 that was pretty special too. Because when I was a senior in high school, we got to the section finals and we got beat. We were one step away from the state tournament, and Worthington hadn't been to the state since like 1921, and in '94 that was accomplished. So that was a pretty special moment. I think of winning the conference track meets, and I think it was 1997. We won both the boys and the girls conference on the same day, and in track, and that was special as well. I just think every athletic banquet we had, the athletic banquet's a thing of the past, but I really enjoyed watching kids, especially those kids that were seniors, watching them get recognized and looking at the looks on their faces, knowing that, that part of their life, they're happy because they're moving on, but yet, they're really looking back on a career at Worthington High School, which was pretty special, pretty important. So it was just Worthington, there aren't a whole lot of specific moments, but it was a great place to go to high school and community college. It was a great place to teach, really a good school district to teach in, really a good school district, a good community to coach in, because the community by and large, they're very good with coaches. They're very nice to coaches, and they understand that, it's more than just about winning and losing, okay? And it was a great place to raise a family. So, a lot of really good things about it. Specifically, it's hard, like you said, but in general, it was just a great place to spend a lot of my life in.
I guess I never did ask you, what are some hobbies now that you're retired? You said you're staying very active with the school, but what are some of the things you like to do when you have some downtime?
I haven't found that I have that much downtime yet. I was really thinking I'd have a little bit more. I thought, okay, I'll get out and I'll do a little more golfing, and right. I really haven't. I have made a couple trips down to each spring or each March. I made a trip down to Arizona with a couple of my other painting buddies, and we've gone golfing for a week, so that was kind of fun. But that hasn't translated into more golf when I come back here. So I'd like to do a little more of that. I'm sure I'll do a lot more fishing when I'm up north.
So that area is perfect for it. Yeah.
So we do a little bit more of that. I do. I get out and I walk a lot. I get exercise that way. I'll miss that walking around Worthington. People see me all the time. They say, "Hey, I saw you walking your dog." I won't have a community really. We aren't going to be living in town, so I won't have that. So, but but I guess we'll just kind of wait and see what life brings. I'll keep working. My wife is still working, and when we get up to our new home, she'll probably have to find a new job at some point in time, and that's a little bit frightening at that time too. But I'll plan on subbing and painting up there, and I'll keep busy doing that.
Once again, Mike Traphagen joining us here on Tri-State Sports Talk. Mike, anything else you want to say or add here today?
No, other than I just want to thank the area, this Southwest Minnesota area. I got to know a lot of people. When you're involved in activities, you get to know a lot of people, and the track meets, you get a wide variety of people that come, and good people. This is a great area. I've been on many mission trips with our high school youth through our church youth group, and we go to different parts of the country, and people we see from different parts of the country always, they glow about how hardworking Midwesterners are, and right. That really is the truth. And so it's been a great time here. We'll certainly be back quite often, because I know I have two painting buddies that want me to do all the high work when they get a job where they have to climb up on the ladder pretty high, so I'll probably come back and help with that. Josh Dale says he's got me hired for the track meets here in Worthington for the next 10 years, so we'll make it back. But a lot of good memories, and we're very thankful. We're very blessed to have lived here all these years.
Mike Traphagen joining us here in Tri-State Sports Talk. Mike, congratulations to you and your wife. Enjoy your retirement, and as you said, we'll see you around. We'll look forward to it. Thanks again for everything. It was great.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jared.
Well, more on Tri-State Sports Talk after this on AM 730 KWOA.